Good day, everybody, and welcome to Big Biz, the podcast that connects you to the SME ecosystem. I am your host, Billy Bukako. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all your interactions on social media platforms. Your comments, shares, and likes are much appreciated. Please do keep on giving us the much needed feedback and do subscribe to our YouTube page. Now, today we're going to be talking something very light compared to the tone of the conversations that we have in this podcast. ESD practitioners will often tell you what a lonely and discouraging space it can be. We walk in with noble intentions to do good. The hurdles are many and quite high. And most times the output does not even match the effort that we put in. So I thought today it's important to bring you a story of resilience, hard work, and positivity. We all know that load shedding is a crippling inhibitor in the South African economy. It's led to closure of many businesses, which contributes to job losses and a decreased contribution to GDP. There's also been a lot of solutions that have been marketed to curb the scourge of load shedding. Many have proven to have a quite high initial capital outlay and not, speaking to the man on the ground. Wetility has developed affordable solutions that have over time become popular within the residential, commercial, and industrial segments. With me in conversation today is Vincent Maposa, the CEO and founder of Wetility. Vince, welcome to the show. So tell us a little bit more about the company Wetility and your products.
So Wetility is a solar fintech company, but basically what we do is we offer homeowners and small businesses an opportunity to get a solar system from as little as 899 Rand a month, and that's a solar subscription service. We also offer remote monitoring and management through our VX app, which is one of the MTN App of the Year Enterprise Solutions winners in 2022. It's a novel introduction of something that's commonly inverter-based, but we allow the customer to see how much money they're saving on a daily basis. They're able to see how much power is being consumed and produced by their solar system. And then we also have, the utility pace, which is a hybrid battery storage system, which goes into your home. It has your inverter, switchgear, and batteries, and then the panels go on the roof. But from as little as $899 a month, you can get a solution for yourself.
That is actually insane, to think of the amount of time we spend without power and, to be able to get it for as little as $899. What gave you this idea? I understand there's a lot of, load shedding induced innovation. We all panicked and we got into, but how did you get into this space?
Yeah, so I have a career as a management consultant prior to starting Wetility, where I worked at a variety of entities, Deloitte, Cummins, in the energy space. And one of the things that really stuck out during my tenure in these businesses was that access was still a significant issue, and energy access meaning is it available and is it affordable, and just understanding how the main power utility Eskom works and how the type of challenges they were facing. You could see that high electricity prices were on the horizon, as well as just load shedding at greater scale. So we felt the residential and small business market was underserved because everyone was looking at larger scale solutions to support the C&I, as well as the larger industrial entities, the mining companies and the like. And we started looking at what are the barriers for homeowners and small businesses to actually get a system of their own. So key things emerged from that research and setting up the business. One was affordability. At that point, you were looking at a solar system costing in excess of 300,000 Rand. And a lot of people didn't have the disposable income nor the savings to afford that. Then the second bit was hardware and warranties. So the trust factor behind what you supply and whether or not the homeowner can claim warranties and so on and so forth. And then just the overall customer experience, which includes aftermarket support. So that's what really drove us. It was really about addressing access and also, understanding that homeowners don't typically have 300,000 Rand lying around, but they are comfortable with paying for a mortgage over 20 years, paying for a vehicle over 84 months and the like. So break that down into sizable, sort of payments over a lengthy period of time. which is quite common in the vehicle and asset finance space, in the cell phone industry, in the telcos space. So that's really what we're trying to achieve. But where we've innovated quite a lot is definitely in the customer experience and the customer service, which is what really drives us in the business.
I would imagine there is a lot of de-risking that you have to think about, taking such an expensive, traditionally expensive product and making it affordable, and especially on a prescription-based subscription. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for.
Well, it is curing a few pains. So
it is.
we could
it
call
is
it
definitely.
Yeah.
So, what does that look like for your business?
Yeah, so balance sheet, right? We've built a strong balance sheet that allows us to take the risk and then take a view on the consumer and their ability to pay us or repay over a period of time. And obviously that comes with its challenges, right? Because every time a customer shows an interest in getting a system from us, there are a couple thousand rands that we have to outlay as capital to buy the system and make it available, and then that unwinds over a period of time. Then we break even after a certain point, and then we return, make a return for ourselves and for our investors. So we had to raise quite a lot of capital up front to be able to deploy. So I think we trialed out about 100 systems with some enterprise development funding that we received from a mix of interested parties, the Innovation Hub, MultiChoice as well. And then thereafter, once we had a proof of concept and were able to show that we had, zero defaults, basically. We had customers who were paying us regularly and paying us on time. We then, decided to raise our Series A ticket, which was Series A equity, but that was coupled with a sizable amount of debt. And the plan with that is to really strengthen our balance sheet and to deploy at a faster scale. And while doing that, you then get economies of scale as well. So we are as we are deploying, lowering the cost for the consumer because we have larger scale, we have more buying power, we can negotiate a lot better with suppliers and the like. So it's literally about having that balance sheet.
That is awesome. I think listening to your story, there has to be, listening to, I think we've used the word challenges here and there. If you can take us through your journey as an entrepreneur, when you started, and just maybe outline how that has been from where you started to where you are right now.
Absolutely. I think there was a bit of a culture shock, right? I came from a large corporate and had a fairly comfortable job. We worked quite hard myself and our co-founders worked quite hard to establish ourselves in our previous businesses. So I think one of the first challenges was how immature the ecosystem was. You're looking for developers, you're looking for people you can collaborate with, who can support and take some risk with you. And then you realize that there aren't a lot of people who are able to do that just because of the socioeconomic environment. And people need jobs in order to take care of their families and extended families and the like. So definitely the first challenge was finding the right people to work with. I had a great bunch of co-founders who were willing to take the risk, so that was fair. But beyond that, we had to figure out which partners and whatnot who were able to outlay risk capital or provide their services for a fee to be paid in the future. That was a significant challenge. We started off with with enough capital, friends and family, seed capital to do what we needed to do. But we also understood that support sometimes goes beyond money. And that's when we approached the Innovation Hub. They funded our first pilot, where we were basically putting panels on a roof, getting an inverter, testing out a few inverters here and there, getting that right. So beyond that, right, once you've proven the concept, now you need the next stage of funding and the next level of funding. And there was quite a lot of bureaucracy. It takes a long time to raise, whether you're raising 1,000 rand or raising 10 million rand.
Same amount of
time, same amount of paperwork. The challenges are quite similar. And then one thing as well is, I left my job in September 2019. So you can just look at the timing. By March 2020, the world had changed.
COVID,
right?
Yeah, COVID comes.
I remember, having a conversation with, my former boss, and he basically said, it's okay to come back, right? it's okay. So, and at that point, I literally doubled down because I could see, despite the fact that the economy was operating at a, lower level of efficiency or productive capacity, there was still load shedding, even when we had COVID, right? So there was something endemic in the system that needed to be addressed. It was also a good time to reflect and really work on, the software side of the business. You really, flesh out the value proposition, start engaging with partners in an environment where, the commercial aspect of the partnership is not driving, it's literally fundamentals. Really got into sort of deeper technology discussions with a variety of parties. So it actually came as a bit of a blessing, but it was daunting because,
of course,
whatever financial resources you have are dwindling, you're not earning any income. The people that have, given you, their pensions and were asking questions about, hey, what happens if this, pandemic lasts 10 years? Like, what are we going to do? So I think those were some of the challenges. And I mean, there's a thing that's not commonly spoken about, which is just the average age of entrepreneur in South Africa. I was in my early 30s when I decided to start the business and do that. And in other parts of the world, the ecosystem promotes entrepreneurship at a fairly younger age. And most entrepreneurs who re-emerge in their 30s or whatnot have failed previously and gone and found a job. So I had a few side hustles that I had been a part of, but I'd never been a full-time entrepreneur. And I realized that with all the experience, all the knowledge and everything, sort of start from the bottom, right? And everyone asks you the same question. You have to prove yourself, even though there's actually no need. If the value proposition is solid, it's solid to you. So yeah, there were those sorts of challenges that we had to overcome, but I think we were very technical and very knowledgeable as a team about what we're trying to achieve and why we're trying to do it. So the conversation became crisp.
Yeah, I think there's something really special about entrepreneurs, Imagine when the whole world is trying to figure out what to do with COVID. You are sitting at home, programming this thing and thinking about how you are actually going to solve a problem that you don't even know when you're going to be able to deploy the product. And I think it speaks also to the resilience itself. So I wanted to check in terms of, so you said initially the funding would come from co-founders, family, and then at a later stage you were able to fund your prototype through the Innovation Hub. And is there any other finances that you've been able to tap into? Because there is this notion that, especially for tech businesses, earlier on nobody wants to take them on, and there's no funding for ideation and early on stage. And as you grow, that's when people tend to be able to uncover certain funding. Were you able to tap into some funding?
Yes, I mean, we've just closed our Series A fundraise, right? And between that, say the early stage, call it friends and family round, we also attracted enterprise development funding from MultiChoice Group. Which was a sizable check for us at that point, close to $2 million or 30 million rand, depending on the exchange rate that we're taking a look at. And the path to raising larger tickets became a lot smoother. I mean, right now we sit with quite a sizable balance sheet capacity, and we can deploy close to R1 billion worth of systems if we're able to get the demand to come through, which is there, right? It's now literally about efficiency at deploying that capital. So initially, my take, and maybe it's our experience, as the co-founders of Wetility, is self-funded initially. And if you have a strong enough network, you pretty much have what you need to ideate and get something, or at least a value proposition you can put in front of the typical, funders like the Innovation Hub, who take a view on the fundamentals of what you're trying to do and then provide you with that early stage, call it grant type of funding. Then after that, it's the seed guys, so which I think the seed capital market, I think entrepreneurs need to get more involved in it to whether it's pooling resources or finding some other creative ways to support other entrepreneurs in that space, because it's risky. Not a lot of institutions want to take that risk. They're more comfortable with taking a look at businesses which have a couple of years of financials and a proven track record. So the seed stage is usually quite difficult to raise for. Then once you've proven that you have paying customers on the other end, and you have a strong value proposition, it's just it's about the length of time it takes to go through all the paperwork. But a yes is a yes, a no is a no, and it's now about the the details of what that yes means, right? Because when you're raising a Series A, where we raised close to 200 million of equity in that space, you're now really chatting about the terms. Right? What type of structure is it? Is it all equity convertible? When does it convert? What are the triggers? All those kind of things. Those are the things that you really start getting into. So you're not short of suitors at that point. It's about which one you choose to go with. And you're more deliberate about the type of investor, because at that point it's now a long-term relationship. So one of the key things that we did was we sought out a large pool, but we ended up going with the investors, or the pool of investors that we thought would understand that this is a business that has a higher purpose, or a bigger purpose as far as we're concerned, which is making sure that there's energy access and people have independence when it comes to the choice of energy supplier, and there's a tech play to it and a customer experience play. So at that point, you really start engaging with very interesting parties.
That is, that's actually quite interesting. I'm listening to the size of the tickets, and I'm actually quite happy that you were at least able to pay back the friends and family who helped you start.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to see, based on the work that you guys have done, there's obviously deliberate, efforts to market the product, right? And so marketing gurus usually say that marketing is the creation of value, right? By creating those sales and through understanding of the product by the target market. That's the first part. And then they say you go further to amplify that value. You need to be able to communicate this through advertising and promotion. So there is, the understanding of the product with your target market, and then there's the advertising and promotion. Which one was your strategy between the two to get the product out there?
So it was actually one after the other. And understanding of the product was a key thing from a customer education perspective. So we iterated a few times on the product, where we literally relied on referrals and did everything below the line with customers. Then now we're in the advertising space, where it's really about promotion, placing all the other P's of the 7 P's that support that physical evidence. So we iterated quite a bit. The product today versus the product 2 years ago has slightly differentiated aspects to it. So now that we're, for example, we now bundle the product with smart geyser controls, which was not an initial thing from a value proposition perspective. And why are we doing that? It's because it enhances the savings that you get as a consumer. So why do that? Because it's savings first and uninterrupted power next. That's our philosophy, right? Because at 16-17% annual electricity increases, value is derived from making sure that the homeowner has more cash in their pocket. Then now, like we're advertising, we've signed up a brand ambassador who's also sort of a partner in an SPV. That's Tendai Beast in Tawarira, who's World Cup winning Springbok, who we partnered with because he has a great personality. His values and ours align as a business, and he's really instrumental in helping us understand the product from a customer's perspective. And that's the type of relationship that we have with him, and now we're advertising that quite a bit. We're really pushing the narrative around bundle the product, get it for $8.99 per month, and it's a utility space. That's the name, utility. And anything we can do as a business to support lower cost of ownership of the home, is in that bundle, and it's like the rallying call. So there's a lot that we're doing in the advertising space. We're running TVCs, radio live reads, so that we can get to as many customers as possible. Because our mission literally is just to serve as many customers as we possibly can, and give them a different experience to the one that they currently have, and also have a forward-looking view on the type of experience we believe they should have, and push that narrative and that agenda. So definitely now we're in the advertising space, but initially it was very product-focused.
Wow, interesting. So the most proudest moment for me was when one day I paused my DSTV and then Wetility came up, and I was like, okay, these guys are onto something now. So you did mention that MultiChoice was, you got involved with them through the ESD program.
Yeah.
Is that the case with some of your big clients that you have in your books at the moment?
Yeah, those relationships have also evolved to being, commercial relationships. That angle from, where the inception of the relationship will always, carry its weight in certain conversations. But definitely MultiChoice, we were part of the MultiChoice Innovation Fund and a beneficiary of the MultiChoice Enterprise Development Trust. So that has then, moved into a relationship which is commercial in nature. We advertise through their platform, and we know the reach that they have as an entity. So it's a great supporter to have in that space. And then we look at some of our partnerships, right? The partnership we have with Telkom, right, is really about reach. And if you think about the telcos that have really carried South Africa through whatever phase that they're going, Telkom is one of those entities. You find a Telkom store, you find a Telkom customer in some of the most remote parts of South Africa. If we are really thinking about access the way that we are thinking about access, then that's a great partnership.
Sure.
And what it actually drives is also, it encourages us to do the things that are most difficult about things like national presence. What does it actually mean to be present nationally, right? We're talking about an installation taking place right now in Alexandria in the Eastern Cape. I've never been there, right? But that's what a partnership with some of these large corporates allows you to do, is to think beyond just your current frame of reference and think about really building a significantly sizable business, even though at some point the relationship was you're an enterprise supplier development entity, or a trustee or a beneficiary. And it's also a great environment to learn. You learn a lot about how to scale a business, how to manage a business of a certain size. So the business we were 2.5 years ago is very different from a size perspective to the one that we are. But the mission and the vision remain the same, which is energy independence.
Awesome. So your biggest order thus far?
So it's funny, we don't have single biggest orders, but in a month it's hundreds of customers. Yeah, that's the single biggest order. But we've also had a few large commercial orders that are sort of captive. So yeah, we could call it in the upper teens, in the millions. That's like a single order. But most of our revenues are from hundreds of systems per month.
So I think your story is a typical, hence we named the episode The Journey to Everest. You guys started right from from nothing basically, and you can now be called a big corporate yourself. And with that comes, corporate social responsibility comes, do you ever feel the need to pay it forward?
Absolutely. I think it's something that we're deeply passionate about because of where we come from and the environment in which we were incubated and accommodated, because that's another thing, right? Being incubated is one thing, but are you accommodated in that environment? And are you allowed to have peer-to-peer conversations? Because typically, incubation comes with this tag, which is let's see how they do, as opposed to let's bring them into the room and accommodate them and actually allow them to develop into a large organization. So our way of paying it forward is looking at incubating companies, but in a meaningful way. So we've taken a lot of interns from the YES program that are part of our business, but we're not just doing that in order to meet some requirements from whether it's ESG perspective, from a BEE compliance perspective. It's if they leave this organization for whatever reason, what have they learned? So it's a very deliberate graduate program, which is something that I learned when I was at Cummins, when I first got there, coming from a consulting firm where you're thrown into the deep end. You come prepared because you're a high achiever from wherever you come from. Whereas at Cummins was a deliberate 12-month program where that engineer is best in class after 12 months. So we're mirroring a lot of that, where we're looking at our interns and saying, are we empowering them with real and actual skills that are meaningful in the space? But then the next step for us is looking at entrepreneurs who have interesting technologies or are working on interesting innovations and finding ways to introduce those into our product portfolio or to incubate them further to get them to a point where they can be commercialized, and to do it a lot faster than some of these incubation programs typically would. Because for us, as soon as we see the commercial value proposition, we will make a move and we'll help the entrepreneur understand and start to develop a business. So we're not necessarily saying that there's anything particularly wrong with the current incubation type of philosophy, but let's get entrepreneurs and get small businesses through those phases a lot faster. And that's our contribution. So, we look at our partnership, for example, with Plentify, which is a sizable business now. But when we first met, we started partnering, we're more or less, very small businesses in their own right. So we've maintained that. And then I'm looking at some of the technologies that we want to introduce that have been brought to us by young entrepreneurs who are going through the incubation phase, and how deliberate our teams are about engaging on a weekly basis and having a deliberate program to be able to do that. So, and that's, pretty much, our view on that. And we're now getting into more deliberate actions around that. And we'll reveal those in a few weeks, but it's about the missing middle, and how do you make the missing middle both a supplier and a consumer of your product. And for example, what we're looking at now is what do our systems actually power, and who are they powering? So if you're powering, say, for example, a spaza shop, which is attached to a home where people actually live, and that home earns income from the spaza shop, and children go to school, and the fact that the system powers up the entire setup, have you contributed meaningfully? Of course you have, but get to understand the people behind that spaza shop and their business and what their ambitions are. Then by so doing, you're able to uncover that, one of the occupants in the home is studying engineering, and you then start to engage at that level to try to understand at what point do they graduate, what are they going to do, and that kind of thing. And then at some point you just consolidate and start looking at that. So we're being very deliberate about those interactions, and there's a plan that our product and operations teams are working on that will be rolling out.
That's quite a noble undertaking, and really well done. I think as ESD practitioners, it also always encourages us, because through your story we can say we've managed to do what we set out to do, right? And I think that really makes me smile. Any advice to entrepreneurs?
So my advice is I was fortunate, and I always say this whenever I speak to my own team and people ask me, why this? I was very lucky that, my first job I was an analyst in an energy team that, wrote research reports about some of the things that we're currently experiencing, and took a very broad African perspective. And then, the next couple of jobs, or at least the types of the work that I did over the 10 years before I started this business, was really in that space. So I wouldn't necessarily call myself an expert or whatever, but it's something that I know quite intimately and I'm very passionate about. And because of that, I have a bit of an unfair advantage. When someone asks me a question about the sector, I can reference a multitude of things that are relevant. But then I'm also very specific and deliberate about what it is that we're going to do. So when people ask me, what about utility scale? I understand how it works, but we're not doing that yet. So my encouragement and my advice would be, know your story, like understand the area in which you want to operate, and be very specific about the things that you will do, and just the common strategy adage is choices, and the choices are the things that you will not do. And pick your choices and be very clear and articulate about what those things are. And then once you do that, network and get a strong set of co-founders, partners, collaborators that are going to support that vision. Because entrepreneurship inherently is a very lonely environment, and it's almost like being in a war and you don't know where the rest of the army is and you're stuck. Everything looks like an enemy, right? So you need to really surround yourself with like-minded people, and sometimes people with contrarian opinions, to strengthen your cause and help you even understand the vision a lot better. And then once you do that, just dig into it, like get into the technical stuff and understand the elements of your value proposition intimately and deeply, so that when you start becoming a generalist, which is what I'm now becoming, right? And if someone wants to take you down a particular path which is super technical, you're able to engage and provide your insights and have an opinion. And then thereafter, it's really about managing your team. So there's a few phases, but you need a significant body of knowledge, good people from a support perspective, very deep and technical understanding of your value proposition, and then you start really building a team and really rolling out whatever it is that you want to roll out.
Well, we've come to the end of today's episode. Vince, thank you so much for your time. And thanks for all the valuable inputs that you have given to all our entrepreneurs. As is customary in the show, I need evidence that you and I had this chat. If you can kindly just sign my cue card over here. Sign anyway. Yes, thank you so much, sir. And this is a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you very much
for being on the show. Thank you so much.
All my morning coffee will be drunk from this cup now.
Yeah, you better. You better. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of today's show. Please go to our social media, give us feedback, share, like, and we extend the call again to corporates, everyone out there who likes the work that we're doing and who would like to see it beyond this pilot. Please hit us up. Our social media and email details are on the screen right now. And it's been a pleasure. My name is Billy Bokako, and this is Big Biz, signing out.